Greetings. Welcome to Cultivating World Recap, your ultimate destination for all things web novels, manga and anime. Join us as we explore epic stories, unforgettable characters, and thrilling plot twists from your favorite series. If you're ready to dive into amazing narratives and discover hidden gems, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's embark on this adventure together. Now, let's begin our story. Chapter 60. Isn't he your illegitimate son? No? Sun Jiang was sent into a daze for a moment by the answer. He seemed like he had taken a great blow from Marshal Hayashin. Originally, he had thought by virtue of his identity, and by personally coming here to the Marshal Mansion to receive Wang Xiaolong as his disciple, Marshal Hayashin would agree happily, but he was actually refused. Sun Jiang's face darkened slightly with unhappiness. Marshal Hayashin saw Sun Jiang's expression, and he thought for a moment before replying, "Sun Jiang, this matter I truly can't make the decision." "You can't decide?" Sun Jiang was stunned. "That Wang Xiaolong, isn't he your illegitimate child?" "Illegitimate child?" Instantly, beads of sweat and black lines appeared on Marshal Hayashin's forehead. This old thing actually thought the sovereign was his. Marshal Hayashin's face was solemn and somber as he said, "Sun Jiang, not to mention me, not even my master can decide." Your master? Senior Yu Ming can't decide." Shock was obvious on his face. Yu Ming was a 10th Order Zainian expert. But Yu Ming can't make such a small decision for Wang Xiaolong? Then, what was Wang Xiaolong's real identity? Marshal Hayashin nodded seriously at Sun Jiang. The truth was, there was something that he didn't say to Sun Jiang, and that was even his own Shizu was not qualified to take Wang Xiaolong as a disciple. Marshal Hayashin's Shizu. Saying it out loud would be too shocking. Thus, Marshal Hayashin kept it to himself and didn't say it to Sun Jiang. Although they were good friends, Marshal Hayashin had never spoken about his connection with Asura's Gate, so Sun Jiang didn't know he was an Asura's Gate disciple. Not long later, Sun Jiang walked out from the Marshal Mansion disappointed. He looked up to the blue sky, with floating groups of white clouds and the blaring sunlight. Didn't expect that little guy's identity to be so not simple. Sun Jiang muttered to himself. Could he be that Duanran Empire's prince? Then he shook his head, dismissing the thought. Leaving the Marshal Mansion, Sun Jiang headed straight back to the academy. Night arrived. The day's heat slowly dissipated as night fell and a cool breeze blew in the night. Wang Xiaolong was sitting cross-legged on the cold jade bed in the master bedroom of the Tangshuan mansion. Battle Kai was circulating in his meridians, however he wasn't practicing. These past couple of days, a thought stuck in his mind. Since his twin dragon martial spirits could fuse to become one and they could separate to become two independent entities, then maybe he could summon them out individually. And now Hao was experimenting how to accomplish an individual summoning. If he could control and summon only one of his martial spirits out, then he wouldn't need to worry about his twin martial spirits being discovered by others. Under normal circumstances or during battle, he would release just the black dragon. But despite 2 days' worth of effort, every time Wang Xiaolong summoned his martial spirits, both the black and blue dragon would appear. This was akin to the left and right hand writing different characters at the same time, an impossible act, because humans can't focus on two things at the same time. Wang Xiaolong's attempts failed again and again, but Wang Xiaolong didn't feel discouraged and continued to try after each failure. The night passed as dawn arrived bringing light. Although he didn't succeed, he found that his control over his twin dragon martial spirits had become more refined. Previously, he needed at least 3 breaths to summon his martial spirits, but now he could do it within 2 breaths of time. Coming out from his room, into the yard, Wang Xiaolong stretched his limbs a little then heard a loud bellowing voice coming from the backyard. Curious, he strolled towards the backyard to have a look. In the backyard, Fei Hu and the newly bought slaves were practicing the Luohan fist, the fist-fighting style he taught Fei Hu and asked Fei Hu to teach it to the slaves. Observing the slaves, Wang Xiaolong nodded in satisfaction. In just a few days' time, these slaves had already familiarized themselves with the moves, showing their battle skills and battle kai comprehension were quite good. It was the requirement he had given Fei Hu. The people he wanted must fulfill 2 things. Number 1 was loyalty, and second, possessing a certain level of comprehension in battle kai and battle skills. "Young master." Seeing Wang Xiaolong strolling over, Fei Hu quickly went up in greeting. Wang Xiaolong nodded. Then he pointed at Beastman Boli, who was practicing Luohan fist in the square, saying to Fei Hu, "You guide Boli more so he can guide the other, leaving you time for your own practice." "Yes, young master." Fei Hu replied respectfully. "Let's go. Accompany me for a stroll outside." Huang Xiaolong said to Fei Hu. He had been in the Luotong Kingdom's royal city for some days and had yet to take a good look around. Thus Huang Xiaolong decided to go out. Also, he would be going to the Silver Moon Forest 2 days later and would stay inside for 5 months. So, he wanted to buy a few things and visit Lai Lu as well as the Lai family's silk shop. He had grown taller since he left Huang Clan Manor, reaching 150 centimeters tall, so he might as well have a few sets of new clothes made there. Huang Xiaolong, Fei Hu, and the 4 Marshal Mansion guards stepped out of Tangshuan Mansion and walked along the streets. The morning was bright and the air fresh. Huang Xiaolong was in a good mood as he walked along the street as it got busier with common folks, and the shops were also opening for business for the day. The truth was, living an ordinary life is also a kind of happiness. Going through several streets, the 6 of them finally arrived at the Lai family's silk store shop. Because it hadn't been a week since the academy lessons had started, so Lai Cheng, who accompanied Lai Lu over to the royal city, hadn't gone back to Kanglan County. When he saw that Huang Xiaolong's group of people came, he quickly came out from the inner hall to meet them. Xiaolong, Senior Fei Hu. Lai Cheng greeted full of smiles. Huang Xiaolong nodded and called Lai Cheng uncle as he entered the shop with Fei Hu and the others. Lai Cheng invited them into the inner big hall, quickly ordering the servants to serve tea. This time in the presence of Huang Xiaolong, Lai Cheng's actions were a little stiff, and when he sat down, his hands were trembling, not knowing what to do with them. Seeing this, Huang Xiaolong guessed that Lai Cheng already knew about what happened during the new student's assessment, that he nearly turned Jiang Tang into a waste. Lai Cheng probably also heard the rumors that he had some indeterminable connection with Marshal Hayashin. It was already spread to the whole royal city. He being connected to Marshal Hayashin was no longer a secret. As for what kind of connection it was, the public continued to speculate, and many different versions came out. Uncle, I came to order a few sets of clothes. After sitting down, Huang Xiaolong explained his purpose. Make a few set of clothes? Lai Cheng blanked for a moment, then quickly stood up. He personally went to the measurements tool to record down Huang Xiaolong's measurements. Huang Xiaolong laughed, asking him to let the servants do it. However, Lai Cheng insisted on doing it himself, which left Huang Xiaolong feeling embarrassed and awkward. As he watched Lai Cheng taking his measurements, Huang Xiaolong couldn't help but think of his parents in Huang Clan Manor, Huang Peng and Su Yan. If they knew he was in the royal city, and Lai Cheng was taking his measurements personally, what would they think? It was done quickly, and they both sat down. After he thought about something for a moment, he said to Lai Cheng, Uncle, my mom and dad don't know that I'm here in the royal city. For the time being, I would like to keep this from them in case they worry too much. When you return, please don't mention this to my parents. Understanding the underlying meaning of Huang Xiaolong's words, Lai Cheng reassured him with haste, Xiaolong, don't worry. I won't say any of these things when I return. Huang Xiaolong nodded his head. Otherwise, when he returned at the end of the year, both of them definitely would pester him with many questions about this. At this time at the storefront, there was a sudden commotion and angry shouting voices. Huang Xiaolong frowned at the loud noises. He could tell that someone was trying to make trouble outside. Also, Lai Cheng's expression wasn't nice when he heard the angry, scolding voices from the storefront. These past few days, there was someone who intentionally came to make trouble, even aggressively assaulting and injuring the shop workers. He didn't expect that they would show up again today. Chapter 61. Eradicate the Marshal's Mansion. The noise of arguing voices outside the store front grew louder, and Lai Cheng could no longer ignore it. He finally stood up, saying, Xiaolong, Senior Fei Hu, please sit for a moment while I go out and handle the matter. Huang Xiaolong shook his head. We'll go out together. Since someone came to make trouble in front of the Lai family silk shop, he was too embarrassed to sit and do nothing. Hearing that Huang Xiaolong wanted to go out together with him, Lai Cheng's heart swam with joy. Thus, the 7 people stepped out of the inner main hall towards the shop's entrance. When they came to the shop's front, they saw more than a dozen people wearing green, colored clothes, smashing and throwing things belonging to the shop onto the floor. This group of people was cursing angry words while destroying the shop's items. Is this what they call silk? All these are smelly cloth taken from garbage dumps, such terrible, foul smell. You dare to use this kind of smelly cloth to make our clothes, your mother, you must be tired of living. Smash everything, no need to hold back. Some of the store workers that tried to stop these hooligans were treated with unruly punches and kicks. There were already 6 to 7 workers groaning in pain on the floor. It seemed their injuries were not light. Stop! Stop your actions! Confronted with this situation, Lai Cheng yelled anxiously and had an ugly expression on his face. The men in green clothing pretended they didn't hear him, but instead, it seemed as if they even exerted much more effort in their wanton destruction. Lai Cheng became furious, walked forward and was about to attack when suddenly one of the green-clothed men flew towards Lai Cheng with his arms spread out. His finger curled into claws aiming at Lai Cheng. His atmosphere was quite strong, a late 7th order. With the man coming at him out of nowhere, Lai Cheng was shocked. As he raised his hand up to defend himself, a silhouette acted faster than him and used a palm to slap away the green-clothed attacker, who flew away screaming, landing on the shop floor with a bang. His body curled into a lump, and from the look of it, he wouldn't survive. The one who deflected the attack was one of the Marshal's Mansion 9th Order guards. The abrupt change in situation caused the other green-clothed men to pause their acts of destruction and look over in the guard's direction. A middle-aged man, who seemed to be the leader of the group, glanced at his companion that was on the floor curling in pain. His face became solemn. Then his attention turned towards Wang Xiaolong's group. "Who are you all? This is our Green Hawk Gang's matter. You had better mind your own business and not stick your noses into other people's problem," the middle-aged man kindly advised them in a sullen voice. The group of men in green gathered behind the burly middle-aged man after they had stopped smashing things around the silk store. "Green Hawk Gang." Lai Cheng's face lost its color. "Green Hawk Gang?" Wang Xiaolong's eyes showed confusion and cluelessness. And at this point, a Marshal's Mansion guard stepped forward and said, "Young master, this Green Hawk Gang is one of 3 biggest gangs in the royal city. The gang leader, Jiang Wei, is a 10th Order warrior and has good connections with some of the city's nobles." "One of 3 biggest gangs in the royal city?" Wang Xiaolong nodded his head. In simple terms, these so-called gangs were similar to those mafia syndicates on Earth. However, since this Green Hawk Gang was said to be one of 3 biggest gangs, their forces didn't seem to be weak. Wang Xiaolong looked at Lai Cheng. In his opinion, the Green Hawk Gang shouldn't have any grudges with the Lai family. So there was only one possibility. The other side got orders from someone. "That's right, we are from the Green Hawk Gang, one of the 3 biggest gangs in the royal city," the middle-aged man declared arrogantly. His eyes moved from one face to the other and stopped on Wang Xiaolong's, glaring at him with a trace of viciousness. "Within the royal city, not many people dare to injure our people." Wang Xiaolong remained aloof. "Speak. Who instructed you to make trouble here?" When the middle-aged man heard this question, his face was gloomy. "Punk, which family are you from? Your words and actions could bring annihilation to your entire family." This sentence wasn't just a false threat to frighten people. The families that went against the Green Hawk Gang in the royal city didn't have happy endings. After the middle-aged man said those threatening words, the 4 guards from the Marshal's Mansion behind Wang Xiaolong exchanged knowing glances and broke out in loud laughter. "Entire families' annihilation? One such as the Green Hawk Gang wants to annihilate the Marshal Mansion?" Even Wang Xiaolong couldn't resist shaking his head with a faint smile. Seeing themselves being laughed at by the 4 guards from the Marshal's Mansion, but he didn't realize their identities. The members of the gang grew gloomier. At this point, Wang Xiaolong turned to the 4 guards and said, "You guys, arrest them and find out who ordered them to make trouble here." "Yes, young master." Hearing this, the middle-aged man's face looked ugly and was about to retreat, but it was already too late. The 4 guards from the Marshal's Mansion flashed from their original position and blocked their escape path. At the same time, they rained attacks on the group of green-clothed hawks. Pitiful screams sounded in the silk store. This group of Green Hawk Gang members were mostly of the 5th and 6th Order strength. The middle-aged man was slightly stronger than the rest, but even he was still only a peak late 7th Order. How was he an opponent against the Marshal Mansion guards? In less than the time it would take to drink a cup of tea, the 4 guards had dealt with them, leaving them lying down on the floor. One of the Marshal's Mansion guards, a 10th Order warrior named Wang Ning, stared at the middle-aged leader and a cold voice sounded. "Our young master asked, who gave the order for you to make trouble here?" The middle-aged man cried pay and spat out some frothy blood, not answering the question. Seeing this, Wang Ning sneered. His hands shaped into claws and grabbed the man's hands and gave both of them a twist, breaking the hands without mercy. An agonizing scream came from the middle-aged man. "If you would prefer not to have both of your legs suffer the same fate, you had better answer the question honestly." Wang Ning's cold voice sounded. "I'll talk." His face already turned deadly pale. His voice shook as he said, "More than 10 days ago, a person came looking for our Green Hawk Gang's leader and ordered him to do so, told us to come here and make trouble." "Ordered?" A light flickered in Wang Xiaolong's eyes. To be able to order the Green Hawk Gang's leader around, this person's identity definitely wasn't simple. Who could this person be? Why target the Lai family? Even the burly middle-aged man didn't know that person's identity, thus questioning him further solved nothing. Wang Xiaolong looked at Lai Cheng, and Lai Cheng shook his head. He couldn't seem to figure out who his family had a grudge with that would be so bad. Could it be them? Suddenly, Lai Cheng's face paled and said to Wang Xiaolong, "Xiaolong, do you remember the day of my father's 80th birthday?" As he said this, grief and resentment appeared on his face. 80th birthday? Wang Xiaolong thought of the old patriarch Lai Mu's birthday banquet 2 years ago. The two mysterious people with poisonous snake martial spirits? At that time, the other side sent Lai Lu's elder brother, Lai Feng's corpse, as a birthday gift. Wang Xiaolong's head turned towards the 10th Order Guard, Wang Ning, asking him, where is the Green Hawk Gang's headquarters located? Whether or not this was ordered by those two mysterious people, things would be clearer if they asked the Green Hawk Gang's leader, Jiang Wei. Since the Huang clan manor and the Lai family were old friends and this happened in front of him, he couldn't pretend not to see. Replying, young master, the Green Hawk Gang's headquarters is in the south corner of the city, not far from here. Wang Ning quickly replied. Xiaolong, I'm going together with you. At this time, Lai Cheng recovered and stood up. The Lai family has been searching for those murderers' whereabouts. Every time he thought of the way his son died, Lai Cheng felt he would drown with grief. Seeing Lai Cheng's simmering anger, Wang Xiaolong nodded in agreement. He looked at Fei Hu and Wang Ning saying, bring him along, we're paying the Green Hawk Gang's leader a visit. A finger pointed at the burly middle-aged man on the floor. Yes, young master. Wang Ning and the rest acknowledged respectfully. Thus Wang Xiaolong, Lai Cheng, and the others walked out of the silk store and headed towards the south side of the city, towards the Green Hawk Gang's headquarters. Chapter 62. Poison Blood Palm. It didn't take too long for Wang Xiaolong and his group to arrive at the Green Hawk Gang's headquarters. The Green Hawk Gang's headquarters was located on the south corner of the city, so it was a little out of the way, but it covered a large area and was bigger than Wang Xiaolong's Tangshuan mansion by a few folds. In front of the main entrance of the headquarters stood two huge stone hawk statues, and both statues were entirely green. But what surprised Wang Xiaolong was that there were no Green Hawk Gang members guarding the main entrance when they arrived. One of three royal cities' biggest gang had no people guarding the headquarters entrance, and the surrounding area was too quiet. As we go in, everyone be very careful. Wang Xiaolong reminded those with him. Yes, young master. Everyone nodded. Fei Hu and the rest already noticed the strange silence in the air. As the group neared the main entrance of the Green Hawk Gang's headquarters, Wang Xiaolong smelled a faint trace of blood. Although it was very faint, but he was sure that it was blood. As they got closer, they would occasionally come across trails of blood on the stone floor. But despite that, there were no signs of the Green Hawk Gang's disciples, causing everyone to feel weird and creeped out. Wang Xiaolong's brows furrowed. Soon they got to the main hall. An empty main hall to be exact. But on the golden throne centerpiece was a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows wearing a hawk-patterned robe. Wang Xiaolong's group exchanged a look amongst themselves. He is the Green Hawk Gang leader Jiang Wei, blurted out the martial mansion guard Wang Ning when he saw the dead middle-aged man on the golden seat. Wang Xiaolong quickly walked up, followed by the others behind him. Jiang Wei's corpse was sprawled on the chair, and both of his eyes were shut tightly. There wasn't any breath left in him, but there was no blood or wound on his body that Wang Xiaolong could see. A thought flashed across his mind, and Wang Xiaolong raised his palm and hit the center of Jiang Wei's chest, and the hawk-patterned robe exploded into pieces. With the robe gone, everyone saw on Jiang Wei's naked chest that there was a muted green palm print. The flesh around the palm print had started to rot, and numerous black-green lines spread out from the palm print towards other areas of the body. A very powerful poison palm strike. All around, everyone's faces were shocked. This should be the low-grade Earth rank battle skill, Poison Blood Palm. Fei Hu added. Poison Blood Palm. Wang Ning and the three other guards swallowed loudly. 30 years ago, one of our Luotong Kingdom's county dukes and his entire household from top to bottom all died under this poisonous palm strike. Despite making all efforts to catch the killer, it was as if the murderer disappeared into thin air after that incident and has never appeared again since then. I didn't expect to come across this again now, said Chen Yu, who was another 10th Order Martial Mansion guard. A county duke was equivalent to a Huaxia province governor, a county duke, and an entire household, and no less than 1,000 guards were killed. The level of turmoil caused by that incident could be imagined. A light flickered in Wang Xiaolong's pupils, and the matter looked more complicated than he had thought. Jiang Wei being dead was beyond his expectation. Moreover, he was killed by the poisoned blood palm. Could the person who killed Jiang Wei be the same one who ordered him to send disciples to make trouble at the Lai family's silk store? And is the killer one of the mysterious people that appeared during Lai Mu's birthday celebration banquet? Young master, how should we deal with him? At this time Fei Hu pointed at the middle-aged man, the leader of the group who made trouble earlier. Please, please, I beg you, don't kill me. Don't kill me. The man looked uneasy, anxiously begging Huang Xiaolong for mercy. Huang Xiaolong's sullen voice said, "Let him go." Everyone was surprised, but no one objected. The two Ninth Order Martial Mansion guards said yes respectfully, and released him. Thank you, thank you. The Green Hawk Gang group leader was overjoyed, thanking Huang Xiaolong incessantly before fleeing away in panic. However, the moment his figure disappeared from view, a loud wail was heard. Everyone was shocked as figures flashed out from the main hall, and the next moment, and found the middle-aged Green Hawk Gang man crumpled on the floor some distance away. Already dead from the looks of it. Huang Xiaolong walked to the dead body and pushed away the clothes from the chest, revealing an imprint of a poisoned blood palm strike. Fei Hu, Wang Ning, and Chen Yu immediately scanned the area, looking alerted. "Fei Hu, go check the surroundings," said Huang Xiaolong as he stood up. "Yes, young master," Fei Hu said, and he leaped up to the rooftop, disappearing in a flash. A short while later, Fei Hu returned, shaking his head at Huang Xiaolong, and respectfully reported, "Young master, the other party used a type of movement battle skill similar to Kai Kong, and it was too fast and your subordinate was unable to catch up. In this subordinate's opinion, the other party is a peak late 10th Order expert." A peak late 10th Order. Huang Xiaolong frowned, his usual and clear voice sullen with disappointment. "Let us go back and talk." Not long after they left the scene, the news about the Green Hawk Gang's leader, Jiang Wei, being killed spread with rapid speed in the royal city, causing an uproar. The Green Hawk Gang's leader was a 10th Order warrior and had more than 1,000 subordinates under him, yet he was killed. The topic was discussed in every corner of the city. Night, the Tangshuan Mansion's main hall. Huang Xiaolong was seated down as Fei Hu briefed Marshal Haoshan about the details of what happened earlier in the day at the Green Hawk Gang's headquarters. And hearing it made Marshal Haoshan look solemn. Haoshan arranged some people to protect Lai Lu and Lai Cheng. Huang Xiaolong said, "Yes, Sovereign, rest assured I will make proper arrangements." Marshal Haoshan answered with due respect, "Subordinate will investigate this matter and capture the person." Then he hesitated for a second before continuing, "Sovereign, your practice trip to the Silver Moon Forest in 2 days is too dangerous. Moreover, now that this kind of incident has happened, it would be best to have Fei Hu, Wang Ning, and the others to go with you." Despite Marshal Haoshan's persuasion, Huang Xiaolong shook his head. No need. If he ran into a Xiantian realm expert, the level of danger would be the same even with Fei Hu and the guards around. And his main purpose was to train. Having them on this trip would be inconvenient. As for the academy, please pass on information to Sun Jiang about my absence. He planned to train and stay in the Silver Moon Forest for 5 months. Given that it was such a long period, of course he needed to notify the academy. Marshal Haoshan nodded and accepted the task. A while later, Fei Hu and Marshal Haoshan left. Huang Xiaolong returned to his room and took out the cold jade bed. Once again he sat cross-legged, trying to learn how to summon a single dragon martial spirit. Time flies and 2 days came and went. These past 2 days, Fei Hu had prepared everything that Huang Xiaolong would need in the coming 5 months, and the sets of new clothes ordered from the Lai family silk shop were personally delivered by Lai Cheng. In the 2 days training, although he still couldn't summon his martial spirits individually, but he had some headway. He believed he would succeed. Within these 2 days, Lai Lu came to visit Huang Xiaolong once at Tangshuan Mansion, bringing along Lai Cheng. Naturally, she was depressed and sulky when she heard that Huang Xiaolong planned to go away and train in the Silver Moon Forest. However, before she left Tangshuan Mansion, Lai Lu turned around and in a serious but resolute tone said to Huang Xiaolong, "Xiaolong, I will also work hard and cultivate to become a qualified wife for you." After she made her declaration, she kissed Huang Xiaolong on the cheek. Coming out from his room, Huang Xiaolong thought of the words Lai Lu said yesterday and unconsciously, his hand rubbed the spot Lai Lu kissed on his left cheek. Smiling bitterly to himself, he thought, "This girl." 1 hour later, Huang Xiaolong had packed everything he needed into the Asura ring and left Tangshuan Mansion, exiting the royal city alone and walking towards the Silver Moon Forest. This trip, although Fei Hu wasn't with him, he brought the little violet monkey along. With the little guy, he wouldn't feel dull and bored in the coming 5 months of hard training. Chapter 63. Underground Giant Tree. 2 months later, inside a cave somewhere within the Silver Moon Forest, Wang Xiaolong was sitting in a cross-legged position. Battle Kai glowed in the cave for a long time when suddenly, the space behind him vibrated as a black dragon emerged, floating behind his head. Seconds after this black dragon appeared, it disappeared with a flash and was replaced by a blue dragon. And the blue dragon also floated behind Wang Xiaolong. 2 months of persistence and hard work finally brought results. Wang Xiaolong could now summon his martial spirits individually. That's right, a separate individual summoning. After 2 months in the forest, Wang Xiaolong had grown stronger compared to when he left the Tangshuan mansion, and even his aura changed. His battle Kai cultivation had advanced from early 6th order to the peak of the early 6th order. Moonlight shone down, resembling water, and the cave surrounding was quiet. In the cave, the black light and the blue light continued to flicker alternately. About an hour later, the lights stopped flickering in the cave as Wang Xiaolong sent his twin dragon martial spirits back into his body. His eyes opened, and he stood up and walked out of the cave. Outside the cave, in the quiet moonlit forest, he did not see the little violet monkey, which made Wang Xiaolong shake his head. This little guy surely took the opportunity to sneak out again while he was practicing. Leaving the cave area, he jumped down while the blades of Asura were already in his hands. His feet tapped the ground and his body leaped up. The blades in his hand swung out and blades' attacks fell downward, akin to a cluster of stars. Sometimes it was violent like an angry roaring storm, sometimes it was soft and gentle, minuscule and hard to detect by the eye. And Asura's wail echoed and drifted in the air as if it had a mind of its own. In the past 2 months, he had also focused on training tiers of Asura, and the level of power he could display had increased significantly. With his progress and persistent training, Wang Xiaolong estimated that in 6 months' time he could achieve major completion for the tiers of Asura technique. Suddenly, while Wang Xiaolong was engrossed in training, the ground below him shook with hum sounds. Violent tremors snaked closer to Wang Xiaolong's position. Wang Xiaolong turned around and saw that some distance away, a huge 30 meters tall gorilla was chasing a half-meter tall little monkey, and the gorilla and monkey were heading towards his direction. The gorilla was in hot pursuit and his hand slammed down repeatedly on the ground in an effort to smash the little monkey, but each attack was a failure. Just before the big palm would land a hit, the little monkey flashed and its figure avoided the danger of being squashed into mincemeat. This made the gorilla roar with fury. Looking at the hilarious scene before him, Wang Xiaolong couldn't help but chuckle. This little guy, the one being chased by the huge gorilla, was the same little violet monkey that had sneaked out to play. Every time Wang Xiaolong focused his attention on training, the little violet monkey would run out. And every time it returned, there would be a big guy chasing behind him. This wasn't the first time the little violet monkey came back this way. Sometimes it really gave Wang Xiaolong a headache. Shy. From far away, the little violet monkey's eyes lit up when it spotted Wang Xiaolong. Immediately, it quickly gestured at Wang Xiaolong, obviously saying there is work to do. At this time, the huge gorilla launched another attack. Its big palm slammed down at the little violet monkey. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and the spot where the little violet monkey was earlier sunk in with crushed stones scattered about, showing a huge palm-shaped imprint. The little violet monkey jumped away, clutching his butt. It turned and squeaked angrily at the gorilla. Just now, that big guy's attack nearly destroyed its small butt. Wang Xiaolong shook his head while laughing at the little guy's antics. His silhouette flashed, and when he reappeared, he was already in midair with his blades, swinging at the huge gorilla. Seeing that Wang Xiaolong had started to attack, the little violet monkey stopped running and attacked the gorilla together with him. This huge gorilla was a type of beast with a body as hard as steel. Not only did it possess a great amount of strength, its body also had a high defense. Its hard skin was like a layer of iron, and usually sparks broke out when normal iron weapons clashed with it. Normally, it's hard to come across a steel gorilla. One really had to wonder where the little guy ran into it. Luckily, this steel gorilla had yet to break through to grade 7 and was still a peak late, grade 6. With Wang Xiaolong's blades of Asura, the hard, steel-like skin was like mud, and in just a few minutes, its throat was hit by his blades. Blood spurted out, and the steel gorilla crashed down to the ground. After the little violet monkey was sure the steel gorilla could no longer move, it ran up to the corpse, and his small hands began to search for battle trophies. It clawed open the corpse's head, and fished out a beast core, and its mouth opened and swallowed the beast core whole. Wang Xiaolong couldn't figure out how the little monkey could distinguish between beasts that had cores and those that didn't. In general, it was rare for demonic beasts below grade 7 to have a beast core. However, every demonic beast the little monkey provoked was guaranteed to have condensed out a beast core. After the beast core went into the little monkey's stomach, Wang Xiaolong walked up to the corpse. Both of his hands formed into claws, and he began sucking out the blood soul Kai from the steel gorilla's corpse. He sucked it out, and the black threads were absorbed into Wang Xiaolong's meridians through the veins in his hands. When every trace of the steel gorilla's blood soul Kai had entered Wang Xiaolong's body, he leaped up and clawed at a big tree 20 meters away. Moonlight disappeared from the area, as if swallowed by darkness. 2 black claw prints appeared in the air. Bang! A loud sound resounded in the darkness. The big tree 20 meters away had 2 half-meter-long tree marks with a half-foot depth, ripped out by Wang Xiaolong. This left 2 black claw prints on the tree trunk and the deathly aura of ghosts around the tree, exuding a dark energy that caused the tree's leaves to gradually turn yellow and then black. Looking at the result of the Asura Demon Claw's first style, Lament of Thousands of Demons, Wang Xiaolong nodded to himself in satisfaction. While training in the Silver Moon Forest for the past 2 months, not only had he succeeded in individually summoning his martial spirits, but all his battle skills had increased in power, including the body metamorphose scripture. He wouldn't have been able to progress at such speed if he remained training in the Tangshuan Mansion or the Academy. Suddenly, the little violet monkey beside him squeaked. "Are you saying that in the steel gorilla's lair you found some treasure?" asked Wang Xiaolong when the little monkey finished gesturing. The little violet monkey nodded its head. It turned around and beckoned Wang Xiaolong to follow it as it scurried off in the direction it first appeared from when it was being chased by the steel gorilla. Roughly 20 minutes later, a boy and a monkey arrived at a section of lush forest and saw the entrance of an enormous cave. Shai. Entering the giant cave, the little monkey grew even more excited and it squeaked cheerfully. It was the first to rush in with Wang Xiaolong following from behind. As they walked into the cave, a light scent wafted towards them. And soon the fragrant scent became stronger as they went in deeper into the cave. Some time later, Wang Xiaolong reached a spacious underground part of the cave that looked to be about 1,000 square meters large. From the ground to the ceiling was a height of about 30 meters. And in this underground cave, there was a giant tree so big that it needed 7 to 8 people to fully hug the tree. Branches stretched in all directions of the cave and some roots were crawling along the cave wall. Between the dense leaves of the giant tree were little sparkling lights. Wang Xiaolong was dazed for a moment when he saw the giant tree, and soon it was followed by a feeling of ecstasy and disbelief. This is a cycad tree. A cycad tree bears a strange fruit called cycad fruit. For those who cultivate battle kai, not only can this fruit enhance one's battle kai, it also could enhance the physical body, from strengthening all the muscles and bones, the flesh, and even the internal organs. Eating cycad fruits on a long-term basis could increase the body's defense, making it become as hard as steel, just like the steel gorilla. Common swords or blades would find it hard to penetrate through the skin. Shai. At this time, the little violet monkey dashed towards the giant tree and was already climbing up the trunk. Tiny hands plucked a cycad fruit and swallowed it whole with a gulu sound. Wang Xiaolong smiled. Sometimes he wondered if the little violet monkey's nose is a dog nose. Probably its nose was even better than a dog's. If not, how can it smell out treasure fruits within 100 li? Chapter 64. Just one sword strike. Wang Xiaolong arrived under the huge cycad tree and his hands enveloped with battle kai to claw at a cycad fruit. His left hand received the falling cycad fruit, then he brought it to his mouth and bit into it. Instantly, ambrosia nectar filled Wang Xiaolong's mouth, and when he swallowed, warm energy flowed into his veins and meridians. He quickly sat down and ran through the Asura tactics to refine the energy from the cycad fruit. As he refined the cycad fruit, 6th Order Netherworld Battle Kai started to surge, rolling and crashing in his meridians. At the same time, Wang Xiaolong felt faint traces of the cycad fruit's spiritual energy nourishing all the muscles, bones, and internal organs of his body, strengthening them and making them firmer. One black and one blue dragon floated around Wang Xiaolong as the Netherworld spiritual aura gushed down on him. After he had broken through to the 6th Order, the speed at which his martial spirits devoured Netherworld spiritual energy had increased once again. Night passed. Rays of sunlight shining down from the mountain peaks fell on Wang Xiaolong's body, warming him. Withdrawing the twin dragons back into his body, Wang Xiaolong stopped running the Asura tactics cultivation technique and got up. Both fists suddenly punched out at a cave wall 20 meters away and left a foot-deep mark. The cave wall shook and loose rocks tumbled down. This result caused his eyes to light up in excitement. This cycad fruit was truly something special. Just one night of cultivation had increased his physical power significantly, and when attacking, the explosive power of his muscles and tendons had become a lot stronger. If he continued to cultivate this way, by just relying on his physical body and its explosive power, he was already a level stronger when compared with warriors of the same level. As he lowered his hands, Huang Xiaolong looked around the cave and noticed that the little violet monkey was refining the psych-ed fruit's energy while seated on one of the tree's branches. The little guy was a puzzle. No matter what type of beast core it swallowed, it didn't need to spend time refining them. But when it came to wondrous fruits like the yang fruit and psych-ed fruit, it did need to spend time refining them. But if it wasn't so, the little guy would be too much of a monster. Seeing that the little monkey was still refining the psych-ed fruit, Huang Xiaolong did not disturb it, and he walked some distance away to a spacious spot and called out the blades of Asura, and began to hone his tears of Asura skill. Time slowly passed this way. Another month passed quickly. In the past month, Huang Xiaolong spent most of his time practicing in the underground cave. During the day, he focused on the Asura sword skill and the Asura demon claw, but at night, he swallowed a psych-ed fruit and cultivated his Asura tactics and the body metamorphose scripture. Occasionally, Huang Xiaolong would leave the cave with the little violet monkey to hunt demonic beasts together. Huang Xiaolong had been swallowing a psych-ed fruit to aid his cultivation every day, and after 1 month of nourishment, all his body's muscles, bones, and internal organs were stronger by more than a fold compared to a month before. Furthermore, in the last couple of days, with the assistance of the psych-ed fruit, he had finally advanced to mid-6th order. Mid-6th order. In general, people who possessed grade 10 martial spirits needed to cultivate for a year to a year and a half before they could reach mid-6th order from early 6th order. Huang Xiaolong, however, only used 3 months' time to advance. In the past 30 days, there had been a little more than 100 fruits on the psych-ed fruit tree, yet Huang Xiaolong and the little violet monkey consumed more than half of the fruits. On this particular day, while Huang Xiaolong was sitting cross-legged under the psych-ed tree, cultivating, footsteps of people entering the cave could be heard. Huang Xiaolong was alerted, and he stopped practicing. And at this point, the voices were loud enough for Huang Xiaolong to hear. That psych-ed tree really grows in this underground cave? It shouldn't be wrong. According to the treasure mirror's indication, that psych-ed tree should be in this cave. The nice scent we smelled earlier is definitely the psych-ed fruit's fragrance. The group of footsteps grew closer and louder. From the voices, the newcomers were likely to be 2 people. Huang Xiaolong stood up, and the little violet monkey scurried down the tree trunk and leaped onto Huang Xiaolong's shoulder. On its little face was a wary expression as it looked in the direction of the underground cave's entrance. Not long after, 220-something-year-old young men arrived. Both men wore light black, colored clothes, and on their chests were the pattern of a mystical bird, showing that both men were disciples of the same sect. On arriving at the underground cave, both men were surprised to see Huang Xiaolong and the little violet monkey. Apparently, they didn't expect to find anybody here, not to mention a little child and a monkey. However, when they noticed the giant tree behind Huang Xiaolong, their eyes shone brightly, filled with mad ecstasy. Psych-ed tree. There really is a psych-ed tree in this underground cave. One of them broke out in loud laughter. Haha, Wu Gan, I've already said the treasure mirror was right. The psych-ed tree is here in this underground cave, and with these psych-ed fruits, we will be able to break through to the 7th order. You're right, and at the end of the year's Outer Disciples sect competition, we will be able to get in the top 3. Responded Wu Gan, the thinner and taller one, as he laughed loudly. Both of them were talking and laughing, totally ignoring Huang Xiaolong, who looked like a harmless child, and the little violet monkey. In their eyes, these psych-ed fruits were already theirs. Huang Xiaolong kept silent the entire time. He watched them with interest. From their clothes, he guessed these 2 should be the disciples of 9 Phoenix Valley from the neighboring kingdom, the Bailong Kingdom. The 9 Phoenix Valley was quite a powerful force in the Bailong Kingdom, and could be considered as one of the kingdom's top forces. After laughing for a while, Wu Gan and the other disciple finally stopped and turned their attention to Huang Xiaolong. What do we do with this kid? Wu Gan asked. How did he get here? Did he get separated from his family's elders and arrived here by accident? The other 9 Phoenix Valley disciple, Chen Yun, sneered. Why care about how this kid came here? No matter what, this secret cannot be leaked. The psych-ed tree bears 100 fruits or so every year, and with these fruits, within 10 years, our cultivation can reach the 8th order. After he said that, he walked towards Huang Xiaolong. 10 meters away from Huang Xiaolong, Chen Yun unsheathed his long sword as he looked at Huang Xiaolong, saying, Kid, initially your luck wasn't bad to actually find this place, and from the looks of it, you have eaten quite a number of psych-ed fruits. How was the fruit's taste? Delicious? Too bad you bumped into us, and now everything here belongs to us. And the only thing left for you is to die." The long sword in Chen Yun's hand suddenly stabbed at Wang Xiaolong's throat. "Don't worry, with just one sword strike you won't feel any pain." Just when the long sword in Chen Yun's hand was about to stab into Wang Xiaolong's throat, it stopped midway. Chen Yun's face stiffened as he looked on with disbelief. The tip of his long sword was pinched in between two fingers. While he was still stunned, Wang Xiaolong flashed and disappeared. A cold light blade edge passed. Chen Yun's body remained rigid still as both of his eyes slacked and slowly dimmed. Then his body fell to the ground. "You're right, just one sword strike, it won't be painful," Wang Xiaolong said, his expression cold. Chen Yun's body fell to the ground, and only then did blood start to seep out from his throat. "Chen Yun!" Not far away, Wu Gan shouted when he saw his comrade tumbling to the ground. By this time, Wang Xiaolong had already started moving in his direction. "You!" Wu Gan's expression changed for the worse. Full of fear, he stepped back unconsciously. Till this very moment, he still couldn't believe that Chen Yun actually died at the hands of the 10-year-old child before him. Like him, Chen Yun was a peak late, 6th order. Chapter 65. Return to the Royal City. "Who exactly are you?" Wu Gan was frightened as he looked at the approaching Wang Xiaolong, and he blurted out the question. "Who I am is not important," said Wang Xiaolong as he kept walking closer, pressuring the other man as he moved forward with an indifferent expression. In Wang Xiaolong's opinion, who he was truly wasn't important because he and this person would not meet each other again. Wu Gan detected the killing intent in Wang Xiaolong's words, and Wu Gan abruptly turned around, and his body became like the wind, already escaping towards the entrance of the cave tunnel. But he had just gotten there when a figure blocked his path. In front of him, a burst of a fierce aura swirled towards Wu Gan, making him retreat in fright. Retreating to his original spot, he saw that it was actually the little monkey who had blocked his path. Seeing the person retreat to the original spot, the little violet monkey grinned and squeaked, making Wang Xiaolong smile. This 9 Phoenix Valley disciple might not have understood what the little monkey said, but Wang Xiaolong did. The little guy was basically saying, "You want to run? You must first ask your monkey father's claws first." Although Wu Gan can't understand a little violet monkey, but the mockery in the blue pupils needed no explanation. Furious at being made fun of by a little animal, Wu Gan fully released his battle kai and summoned his martial spirit. Wang Xiaolong was surprised. This Wu Gan's martial spirit was a toad-type demonic beast, but the only difference was this martial spirit had a tail at its end. What kind of martial spirit is this? Although Wang Xiaolong had read a lot of books relating to martial spirits and the Cosmic Star Academy, he still wasn't able to recognize this martial spirit. However, in the martial spirit world, martial spirits exist in countless forms, and there were also many variational martial spirits such that even a saint-level warrior who had a 1,000-year lifespan wouldn't necessarily know either. After summoning his martial spirit, Wu Gan suddenly swung his sword towards the little violet monkey. Sunset on the long river. Sword rays shot forward as if sinking down into the ground, and while the sword rays looked gentle, they contained an endless murderous aura. When the little violet monkey saw the attack, he grinned, and instead of retreating, it leaped forward and both of its sharp claws struck out. Claw prints overlapped and space fluctuated. Wang Xiaolong stood there. He had no inclination of joining the fight. He could see that the 9 Phoenix Valleys disciple hadn't yet advanced to the 7th order. Since he has not advanced into the 7th order warrior, then the little guy could handle it on its own. And it proved to be true when a short while later, the little violet monkey's claws turned Wu Gan's chest into ribbons, blood spurting out instantly. Looking at the claw marks on his chest, Wu Gan was shocked and angry at the same time. Without wasting a moment, the little violet monkey rushed up again. "Animal, you are looking for death." Wu Gan swung his sword in anger, and the sword rays looked like a rotating sun, shining brightly and forcing the little violet monkey to retreat a step back. Then Wu Gan flashed and once again tried to escape from the cave opening. But how could Wang Xiaolong, who was watching all this at the side, allow Wu Gan to run away? With a shift of his body, Wang Xiaolong was already blocking the path of the escapee. F***C, off! Wu Gan roared at the top of his lungs, and his sword struck out with anxiety. Wang Xiaolong looked coldly at the other party, and the blades of Asura appeared in his palms as his icy, cold voice sounded, "Tears of Asura." He leaped up and the blades slashed down. Before Wu Gan's frightened and frantic eyes, many blade rays appeared and turned into a violent, thunderous rainstorm that stretched 60 meters wide and enveloped him. Wang Xiaolong landed back on the ground and retrieved the blades of Asura into his arms. The rays of blade light dissipated, and so did the angry thunderstorm. Wu Gan fell to the floor. His eyes still showed emotions such as fear, despair, and dismay. From head to toe, Wu Gan was covered with blood-filled holes which looked like it was penetrated by drops of sharp rain. Pierced through by over 100 holes, it was a horrible way of dying. On the ground, from Wu Gan's body suddenly came the cry of an Asura, lasting only for a single moment before it vanished. Watching his opponent's expressions of fear, despair, and dismay, Wang Xiaolong's cold voice rang out. Indeed, the psyched fruit's taste was quite good. Too bad you have no chance to taste it. Wu Gan stopped moving. The truth was, even if the two of them hadn't planned on silencing him, he still wouldn't have let them leave the place alive. Just as both young men had said earlier, the underground psych-ed tree was a secret that could not be allowed to leak out. Although a psych-ed fruit was incomparable to the yang fruit Wang Xiaolong had taken years before, this still was a psych-ed tree that could bear more than 100 psych-ed fruits every year. This made the value of this psych-ed tree much higher than the yang fruit. With this psych-ed tree, in the future, Wang Xiaolong could come back here to cultivate 2 months every year. More importantly, with these psych-ed fruits, his parents, Wang Peng and Su Yan, have the possibility to advance further in their cultivation. Also, his little sister Wang Min's martial spirit was going to be awakened soon, and these psyched fruits can help to lay a better foundation for her. Of course, not to mention his little brother, Wang Xiaohai too. A while later, Wang Xiaolong cleaned up the area and dealt with the bodies on the 2 bodies. He found some gold coins, a battle kaidan, and a book called The Treasure Mirror. Flipping through the book, Wang Xiaolong found that it wasn't some cultivation technique or battle skill manual, but a book introducing a variety of the world's rare and wondrous treasures, the places they might grow, their uses and benefits. Of course, the book just introduced and mentioned possible places these rare treasures could be found, but it was just possibilities. It required individuals to actually go and search for it. After he took care of the 2 corpses, Wang Xiaolong picked all of the psych-ed fruits from the tree and placed them in the Asura ring before leaving the underground cave with the little violet monkey and venturing deeper into the Silvermoon forest. More than a month had passed since the underground cave incident. Somewhere in the Silvermoon forest near a lake, the green water of the lake made people feel relaxed, and there was a naked boy swimming in it. The boy was, of course, Wang Xiaolong. Although only 10 years old, his body was already well proportioned and muscular. And in these 4 months, he had grown taller again, a little over 5 feet tall. Suddenly, a little monkey head emerged from the waters. The little violet monkey emerged from the water, and it gave a squeak as its hands splashed water in Wang Xiaolong's direction. Wang Xiaolong laughed wickedly. His body twirled to the side, avoiding the water attack, and his palm hit the water. 1 man and 1 monkey were playing in the lake. Half an hour later, Wang Xiaolong and the little violet monkey swam to shore, dried up, and he put his clothes back on. It's been more than 4 months, time to go back. Wang Xiaolong thought to himself. He had just enough time to rush back to the Luotong Kingdom's royal city to participate in the Academy's year-end competition. After 4 months of grinding in the Silvermoon Forest, Wang Xiaolong had reached peak mid-6th order and could break through to the late 6th order at any time. Thus, Wang Xiaolong and the little violet monkey journeyed back in the direction of the royal city. 10 days later, Wang Xiaolong and the little violet monkey appeared before the Luotong royal city's huge city gates. Looking at the words stating Luotong Royal City, there was an indescribable feeling in his heart. Luotong Royal City, I'm back. Passing the gates into the city, the back of 1 man and 1 monkey gradually disappeared from view. However, Wang Xiaolong went straight to Cosmic Star Academy instead of returning to the Tangshuan mansion. Chapter 66 should be a tie. When Wang Xiaolong arrived at the Cosmic Star Academy's main square, he ran into Lai Lu. Xiaolong. Lai Lu had spotted Wang Xiaolong from far away. Feeling delighted, she ran into Wang Xiaolong's arms, same as always, and hugged him. He smiled bitterly as the square's passerby turned to look at them. Okay, everyone is looking, Wang Xiaolong persuaded. Only then did Lai Lu let go of him. In the few months they had been apart, Lai Lu had grown taller. Her small face's features had become even more delicate, and her dimples when smiling were even more mesmerizing. Intelligent and bright-looking eyes showed cuteness and mischief. Lai Lu's looked down shyly from being stared at by Wang Xiaolong, and a trace of a red blush appeared on her cheeks. Xiaolong, tomorrow is the class and year's competition, so you must be careful of Jiang Teng. Seconds later, Lai Lu raised her head and said to Wang Xiaolong, after he was beaten by you last time, Jiang Teng was healed by the principal and vice principal. He has been training madly for the past few months and has advanced quickly. His current strength is already at peak late 4th order. The peak late 4th order? Huang Xiaolong was a bit surprised. He didn't expect that little punk would break through to the peak late, fourth order so soon. Suddenly, Huang Xiaolong frowned a little, and his eyes squinted when he noticed Jiang Teng was heading his way with a group of students tagging behind him. Lai Lu noticed Huang Xiaolong's frown. She turned around, and her expression changed. Immediately, she hid behind Huang Xiaolong as if she was afraid of Jiang Teng. Watching Lai Lu's reaction, Huang Xiaolong's frown grew deeper. Stopping in front of Huang Xiaolong, Jiang Teng glanced at Lai Lu hiding behind Huang Xiaolong, and the corner of his mouth curled up in a cruel sneer. He looked at Huang Xiaolong saying, "I heard someone say that you're back, and I didn't expect it to be true. Huang Xiaolong, tomorrow is the class competition, and this time I will make you feel regret forever." At this point, he pointed a finger at Lai Lu and spat the words out, one by one, "At tomorrow's class competition, I want to see if you can save her like the last time." When Jiang Teng said this, his eyes shone with a fiery fierceness, and it was obvious to everyone present how high the level of animosity Jiang Teng felt towards Huang Xiaolong. The last time, it was on this very spot that Huang Xiaolong defeated him in the public eye, turning him from the Academy's most talented genius in 100 years to the Academy's laughing stock. That incident spread through the entire royal city and was treated a juicy piece of gossip at the dinner table. These past 5 months, he lived under mocking eyes and was ridiculed every day, and he hated Huang Xiaolong for it. His hate spread to everyone and everything related to Huang Xiaolong. Every single day during these past 5 months he trained like a madman. Everything was for defeating Huang Xiaolong in front of the Academy in the class competition, to cruelly crush Huang Xiaolong. Looking at Jiang Teng's full of hatred face, like he just wanted to swallow him XL alive, Huang Xiaolong was indifferent as usual. "Tomorrow? No need to wait until tomorrow. Summon your sick cat martial spirit out now." Sick cat martial spirit? The lackeys behind Jiang Teng had a look of anticipation on their faces towards a good show. Huang Xiaolong's remark made Jiang Teng turn red with anger, and a sharp, cruel light flickered across his eyes. "Good, Huang Xiaolong, since you asked for it, then there's no need to wait till tomorrow. I will cripple you now." After he finished saying that, his battle kai's dazzling light broke out from his body, and his martial spirit, the sacred bright tiger, emerged. Jiang Teng's energy aura increased exponentially, first fourth order, then mid-fourth order to late, then it reached peak late, fourth order. Suddenly, it surged again and reached the fifth order. Fifth order? Isn't Jiang Teng a peak late, fourth order? Heavens, he actually broke through to the fifth order. This is too horrifying. Not even half a year has passed, and he already passed the fourth order and advanced into the fifth order. Everyone present was shocked, including Lai Lu. The rumors around the academy said Jiang Teng had advanced to the peak late, fourth order. However, not one person knew that Jiang Teng actually reached the fifth order. Jiang Teng's body burst out in full blast. Hearing the shocked gasps and whispers around him, his heart bloated with pride. For the end of the year's competition, to astound the whole academy, he who had reached the peak late, fourth order went all out and swallowed a treasured elixir his family had kept for more than 100 years, and forcefully broke into the fifth order. "Huang Xiaolong, are you shocked that I am now a fifth order?" Jiang Teng stared at Huang Xiaolong and sneered. "I don't believe you can reach my level." In normal terms, even if Huang Xiaolong possessed a grade 11 martial spirit like his, it was impossible for him to have the same achievement. From Jiang Teng's point of view, unless Huang Xiaolong took some precious elixir like he did, at the most Huang Xiaolong would be a peak late fourth order. However, the probability of that was almost nil. Ruthlessness flashed in Jiang Teng's eyes. "Last time, you gave me 15 palms. This time I will return to you 30 palms, 100 palms." When Jiang Teng finished saying that, he suddenly leaped out and his fist struck out, aiming at Huang Xiaolong. This attack contained all the hate he had been suppressing for the last 5 months. Tiger Flame Palm. Tiger King reappear. A huge tiger and paw print pierced through space. Out of sight in a corner some distance away stood Qin Chu and Sun Jiang. Both were surprised at the strength Jiang Teng had revealed. Clearly, the two of them hadn't expected Jiang Teng to have advanced to the fifth order in such a short period of time. The truth was, they had gotten to the square early on, and had seen everything that happened from the beginning, but neither had the intention to interfere. Qin Chu sighed, feeling comforted. "Jiang Teng truly did not disappoint us. In just 5 months, he has come this far. At first, I thought Huang Xiaolong would secure the first place in the class competition, but now it seems it may not be so." Sun Jiang's eyes looked deep and said, I have been very curious about Huang Xiaolong's martial spirit, and this time, with Jiang Tang's fifth order strength, he probably could force Huang Xiaolong to call out his martial spirit. Principal, who do you think will lose and who will win? Qin Chu asked out of curiosity. Sun Jiang's voice was deep and somber. It should be a tie. Huang Xiaolong stood on the same spot watching the fierce paw print aiming for him. His expression was cold, but he didn't move much. A single palm pressed against the void, and the ethereal palm already struck out towards the tiger flame palm. Jiang Tang, who was in midair when he launched the attack, felt a tyrannical, irrepressible power surge at him like a mighty wave. Hum! A loud crash rang out, and Jiang Tang was akin to a small pebble hitting the great waves, and his body shook and flew out frantically from the impact. Taking advantage of the time it took Jiang Tang's body hit the ground, Huang Xiaolong's body flashed and reappeared right below Jiang Tang. Cold eyes flickered as another palm struck the falling body. Stop! Both Sun Jiang and Qin Chu shouted at the same time. Two silhouettes rushed forward with rapid speed, but it was still too late. Another one of Huang Xiaolong's palm hit Jiang Tang squarely in the chest, and with a muffled blast sound, Jiang Tang crashed to the ground from midair. Tremors traveled across the square ground as spider-line cracks spread out from where Jiang Tang landed. Like a dead dog, Jiang Tang laid on the ground, limbs twitching and his open mouth issuing a low groaning sound. Two people came down from the air. Sun Jiang and Qin Chu finally arrived, and when they saw Jiang Tang lying down on like a dead dog, their expressions ashened. Hastening towards Jiang Tang, both of them quickly ran their battle kai, transferring them into Jiang Tang's body to rescue him, just like last time. The lackeys who came with Jiang Tang and the passerby were immensely frightened of Huang Xiaolong. Several students who were on good terms with Jiang Tang ran away in fear, not daring to stay a moment longer in the square. After smashing Jiang Tang down to the ground with one palm, Huang Xiaolong landed and sent the other side a cold look. This time he was heavy-handed, for he wanted to let high opponent thoroughly understand the gap that exists between them. Otherwise, the other side will always find opportunities to swagger foolishly in front of him in the future. Chapter 67. The Academy's annual competition begins. To the side, Lai Lu was in a daze, rooted to the spot. Her gaze fell on the twitching body smashed down by Huang Xiaolong on the ground, and she didn't react for a very long time. Huang Xiaolong was actually so strong. In the last 5 months, she had been practicing diligently and thought she might have closed some of the distance between herself and Huang Xiaolong. However, she didn't imagine the gap to reach such a degree. At this point in time, Sun Jiang and Qin Chu stopped infusing battle kai into Jiang Tang's body and got up while wiping away the sweat on their foreheads. Fortunately, they acted quickly. If Huang Xiaolong gave Jiang Tang a dozen palms continuously like last time, without a doubt, Jiang Tang would truly be wasted and crippled. The two let out bitter smiles. At first, they thought the fight would come to a tie, but once again, things turned out like the last time. Facing Huang Xiaolong, Jiang Tang lost in just one move. And he lost so miserably. Sun Jiang and Qin Chu had complicated expressions as they faced Huang Xiaolong. The surprise this little guy gave them was a little too big, but all was well. Their heart's tolerance was strong enough to take it. Xiaolong, your actions towards this little guy is too heavy-handed every time, Sun Jiang commented while smiling at Huang Xiaolong. Looking back at Sun Jiang, Huang Xiaolong's expression stated, I don't really care, and said, if there's nothing else, I'm going back. He turned around and left directly after throwing out the sentence. Sun Jiang and Qin Chu's mouth opened and closed, wanting to say something to Huang Xiaolong. In the end, no words would come out, and they could only watch Huang Xiaolong take Lai Lu away with wide eyes. After the two small figures disappeared, Sun Jiang and Qin Chu exchanged a glance and shook their heads. When Huang Xiaolong's shadow was gone from the academy square, in a distant corner, Qing Meiki slowly walked out into the light with a complicated expression on her face as she looked in the direction Huang Xiaolong took as he left. Just like Sun Jiang and Qin Chu, Qing Meiki was at the academy square early on and saw everything. After leaving the academy, Huang Xiaolong and Lai Lu went to Tangshuan Mansion. On the way, Lai Lu finally recovered from her shock and started to chatter away with Huang Xiaolong, gossiping about the interesting events of the past 5 months in the academy. Looking at the cheerful chatterbox Lai Lu, he smiled. He liked to see the dimples on Lai Lu's face when she smiles. Young master, you have returned. When Huang Xiaolong and Lai Lu arrived at the Tangshuan mansion, Fei Hu was going out when he saw Huang Xiaolong. Delighted, Fei Hu rushed up and greeted him. Wang Xiaolong stepped up and patted Fei Hu's shoulder, affirming, "Yes, I'm back. Let's first go inside and talk." Coming into the main hall, the three people sat down. After sitting down, Wang Xiaolong inquired about the progress of Tangshuan Mansion's armed forces, and Fei Hu answered one by one. Fei Hu explained that he went to the slaves market a couple of times and purchased a few new slaves. So now, including Beastman Boli and the others, there was a total of 68 slaves in the Tangshuan Mansion. After undergoing his training, all the slaves had acquired a certain level of foundation in the Luohan fist supplied by Wang Xiaolong. When Fei Hu brought these slaves back, each of them had some battle kai foundation in them, and after 5 months of his training, they could already use the Luohan fist against enemies. The weakest one was on par with a 5th order warrior, and the strongest amongst them was Beastman Boli, who could fight against a 6th order warrior. Listening to Fei Hu's answers, Wang Xiaolong nodded with satisfaction at the speed of the progress. At this time, Fei Hu hesitated a little before continuing, "Young master, tomorrow is your academy's class competition. I found out the strongest first year this round is called Lu Kai. And this Lu Kai was already a peak late 6th order last year, and he have probably stepped into the 7th order by now." Lu Kai? Wang Xiaolong's brows creased into a furrow. 7th order. Below the 10th order, there were two bottlenecks. One was the 4th order, and the other was the 7th order. Once a person advanced to the 7th order, the exponential increase in strength was unimaginable, definitely not what a peak late 6th order can rival. If that Lu Kai really had broken through to the 7th order, tomorrow's first-year class competition will be somewhat troublesome. That's right, Xiaolong, I've often heard our teacher Qingmeki mention him. 3 years ago, he was a late 6th order, and he has always taken the first place at our academy first year's competition for the past 3 years. He has never lost even once. Also, he's our Luotong Kingdom's prince. Lai Lu added after Fei Hu. Oh, Luotong Kingdom's prince? Wang Xiaolong was a little surprised at the information. Yes, young master. Fei Hu said, the Luotong Kingdom's king, Lu Ji, is very attentive towards this son, and I also heard the king will attend tomorrow's academy matches. King Lu Ji will come to watch the competition. Again, Wang Xiaolong was surprised. It seemed that the Luotong Kingdom's ruler attached great importance to this son. Moreover, this Lu Kai has some relation to young master. Fei Hu continued to elaborate. The bet between young master and Zhang Yuan 5 months ago, does young master remember? If young master takes the first place for the first year's competition, the principal will expel him from the academy. Lu Kai is Zhang Wangfei's son. Dong Wangfei's son. This time, Wang Xiaolong was truly shocked. Dong Wangfei was Zhang Yuan's elder sister. This meant that Lu Kai was Zhang Yuan's nephew and Zhang Yuan was Lu Kai's uncle. Lu Kai, Wang Xiaolong repeated the name once in his heart. 7th order, huh? Looks like the first-year competition tomorrow will be a little more meaningful. Young master, in fact, it doesn't matter even if you can't take the first spot in the first year's competition. Young master is still very young, only 10 years old, whereas that Lu Kai is already 19. Seeing Wang Xiaolong in deep thought, Fei Hu assumed Wang Xiaolong was worried about the competition tomorrow, so he spoke some words of comfort. Sovereign's talent can be described as monstrous and was strong compared to others of the same age, but in Fei Hu's opinion, it was still too difficult for him to win against a 7th order warrior. On hearing Fei Hu's words, Wang Xiaolong laughed lightly. Waving his hand and changing the topic, he asked Fei Hu about his progress in the liquid thunder arts. And Fei Hu answered truthfully. Oh right, I have something for you too. Some time later, Wang Xiaolong remembered something and took out 10 pieces of psyched fruit. These are psyched fruit. Staring wide-eyed at the psyched fruit in Wang Xiaolong's palm, Fei Hu exclaimed out loud in surprise. When Lai Lu heard what Fei Hu said, her eyes too opened wide in surprise. Yes, these are psyched fruits. Wang Xiaolong smiled and said, the little guy found it while we were training in the Silver Moon Forest. At this moment, the little violet monkey who was seated beside him squeaked proudly, both tiny hands gesturing. He obviously was showing off in front of Fei Hu and Lai Lu. The little violet monkey's cute antics made the 3 people in the hall burst out in laughter. But finding these psyched fruits was something that one could be proud of. Wang Xiaolong divided the fruits and gave Fei Hu and Lai Lu 5 each. A short while later, Fei Hu and Lai Lu left the main hall. Wang Xiaolong also left and went to his courtyard to practice the Asura Demon Claw. Not long later, Marshal Haoshin got the message that Sovereign was back from the Silver Moon Forest and quickly went over to Tangshuan Mansion from the Marshal Mansion. Marshal Haoshin also mentioned Lu Kai to Wang Xiaolong with a worried tone. It seems not only the academy's teachers and students, even Fei Hu and Hayashin, don't believe I can get the first place. Ah, Huang Xiaolong thought to himself inside. Night slowly descended. Moonlight shone brightly over the land. Huang Xiaolong sat cross-legged on the cold jade bed, as the twin dragon martial spirits greedily devoured the netherworld spiritual energy. One night passed peacefully just like that. Replaced with warm sunlight, the day of Cosmic Star Academy's annual event, the day of the class and year competition had finally arrived. Chapter 68. King Luji. On the day of competition, it was sunny and Huang Xiaolong came out from his room and saw Fei Hu waiting for him respectfully in the yard. When Huang Xiaolong, Fei Hu, Wang Ning, and the three Martial Mansion's guards arrived at the Academy Square, a sea of people already gathered on the Academy grounds. Because today was the Academy's annual class and year competition, the Academy's authorities had specifically allowed each student to bring their families or servants to enter the Academy and watch the competition. Of course, each student can only bring up to 5 people. Coming on to the Academy grounds, Huang Xiaolong and his group of 6 headed straight to the Holy Hall. The Academy's Holy Hall was a few times bigger than the front square. Even if tens of thousands people were crammed inside, it doesn't feel crowded at all. That's Huang Xiaolong. He is this year's new batch student, Huang Xiaolong. I heard Jiang Tang already broke through the 5th order but was nearly wasted by him yesterday. When the crowd saw Huang Xiaolong stepping into the Holy Hall, a buzz erupted amongst the people around. Huang Xiaolong, although a new student, was already famous throughout the academy to the point even the older students and teachers all recognized him. Ignoring the waste discussions around him, Huang Xiaolong came to a corner of the hall and stood with Fei Hu and the 4 guards. Xiaolong. At this time, a pleasant and surprised voice cried out. Huang Xiaolong turned to look and saw a happy Lai Lu running towards him. Huang Xiaolong smiled at Lai Lu. I heard this time, not only the king is coming to watch the competition, Marshal Hayashin is also coming. Marshal Hayashin is also coming? The rumor flying around is that super abnormal monster Huang Xiaolong is Marshal Hayashin's illegitimate son. Don't know if this is true or not. Once again the crowd roared with this piece of news. Listening to these people's words in his ear, Huang Xiaolong couldn't help but smile in bitterness. Suddenly, Huang Xiaolong felt a cold, piercing stare on his body. Turning around towards the source, Huang Xiaolong saw Zhang Yuan standing in a group of people. In front of Zhang Yuan stood an imposing young man around 18 to 19 years old, encircled by a group of flattering students of both genders. From the looks of it, this young man should be the prince of the Luotong Kingdom, Lu Kai. Also, he was the strongest first-year student according to everyone. At this point, Lu Kai felt Huang Xiaolong's gaze and 2 sets of eyes met midair. He is Huang Xiaolong? Lu Kai's mouth opened and asked to no one in particular. Yes, he is that Huang Xiaolong. Zhang Yuan stepped up and replied immediately. Lu Kao nodded. His expression was the same the whole time, completely unperturbed. As time flowed, the number of people gathering in the holy hall became more and more, and some time later, from outside the holy temple sounded a loud voice announcing, "The king, marshal, and principal have arrived." King Luji, Marshal Hayashin, and Cosmic Star Academy's principal, Sun Jiang, arrived together. Instantly, Huang Xiaolong and everyone else in the hall turned around to look at the entrance. At the entrance, a middle-aged man wearing a light yellow dragon robe walked majestically and strode into the holy hall under the protection of a group of bodyguards. Without a doubt, that middle-aged man was the Luotong Kingdom's king, Lu Ji, and half a step behind him was Marshal Hayashin, and the Cosmic Star Academy principal Sun Jiang. With King Lu Ji's arrival, the crowd quickly saluted, and the crowd began to noisily chatter in the holy hall. Everyone rise, stand up. King Lu Ji stepped up to the specially prepared guest of honor main platform and sat on the main seat. Marshal Hayashin and Principal Sun Jiang sat on each side next to the king. After the 3 biggest people were seated, the rest of the nobles followed suit and sat down. Not long after everyone had taken their seats, Sun Jiang stood up and made a short speech about the competition and the rewards. At the mention of rewards, Sun Jiang raised his voice. Apart from the usual rewards, the king is generous enough to add 1 million gold coins and a set of an early earth grade cultivation technique for all first place winners of the year category. 1 million gold coins. An early earth rank cultivation technique. The crowd broke out in an uproar, eyes hot with burning desire. Even Huang Xiaolong was surprised. 1 million gold coins weren't some spare change, and it was even coupled with an early earth rank cultivation technique. In the Luotong kingdom, this was not something that could be bought even with gold coins. Wang Xiaolong's eyes squinted. If he took the first year's first place in addition to the rewards, there was still the Earth-rank battle skill that Sun Jiang promised him. Then, would he be getting one Earth-rank cultivation technique and one battle skill? An Earth-rank cultivation technique and battle skill were useless to him, but it can be passed to his parents and his little brother and sister. Nonetheless, learning an extra battle skill is an advantage. Then let the competition begin. Sun Jiang glanced at the crowd and finally declared. After Sun Jiang finished his announcement, the hall fell into a brief moment of silence, and then the class competition begins. Cosmic Star Academy has a total of 3 class years, so the competition was held in 3 different places. However, only the winner of each class was eligible to contest in the year category competition. Thus, every class of each year needed to compete. The first years had the most number of classes, a total of 14 of them, and Huang Xiaolong was in the last class, the 14th class. In the class-level competition, not all the class students will battle it out. Instead, the class teacher would nominate the strongest 2 people to compete, and the winner was considered as number 1. Of course, if there was someone who disagrees with this, they could also challenge the winner. In class 14 of the first years, undeniably, the 2 strongest people would be Wang Xiaolong and Jiang Teng. But yesterday Jiang Teng was almost crippled by Wang Xiaolong. From the injuries, without 10 days to half a month's rest, it would be hard for Jiang Teng to get out from the bed. So, left with no choice, Xingmeiki could only nominate Wang Xiaolong and another student called Chen Tong. However, this student called Chen Tong just recently advanced into the 4th order. The moment Chen Tong walked up to the stage, he immediately threw in the towel. This result stunned everyone speechless, but no one found it surprising. Even Jiang Teng, who possesses a grade 11 martial spirit and broke through to the 5th order, was nearly wasted by Wang Xiaolong, not to mention a new 4th order Chen Tong. Chen Tong's concession was considered a smart move on his part, knowing one's limitations. With Chen Tong's action, no one else in class 14 dared to challenge Wang Xiaolong. Thus, by default, he became the class winner without moving a finger. When Xingmeiki announced Wang Xiaolong's victory, her face was full of complex emotions as she looked at Wang Xiaolong standing up on the stage. While Class 14's winner was already announced, the other 13 classes were still in progress. Therefore, when Xingmeiki made the announcement, everyone exclaimed in surprised gasps. On the honored guests platform, King Luji also noticed the situation around Class 14's stage. Watching Wang Xiaolong, King Luji said to Marshal Haoshan, "He is Wang Xiaolong, a young hero in the making. Ah, Haoshan, during our time, when we were 10 or so, we were just a 4th order warrior, right?" Marshal Haoshan laughed and said, "It is so, King." Luji nodded and looked the other way where his son, Lu Kai, was. His eyes showed a spoiled love and he smiled. "I heard some say Wang Xiaolong had a bet with Zhang Yuan, wanting to get the first place in the year competition. Later, probably he will come against Kair." Although Lu Ji spoke in such a manner, his demeanor was relaxed. Apparently, he does not believe Wang Xiaolong is his son's rival to fight for the first place. After the class competition, the contestants for the year competition would draw sticks to determine their next opponent. One after another, till the end, the year category winner will come out, and in Lu Ji's opinion, Wang Xiaolong will be eliminated halfway, having no opportunity to play against his son. Noticing King Lu Ji's smile, Marshal Haoshan already saw through his thoughts. Smiling, Marshal Haoshan did not say anything. A while later, all 14 classes from the first year category had been determined with their representative winner. Then the next event would be the fight for the first year champion. Chapter 69. Not necessarily. "Now, the class competition winners, please step up and draw a stick," Vice Principal Xin Chu announced up on the stage. Wang Xiaolong, Lu Kai, and 12 others walked up to draw sticks. Wang Xiaolong picked the stick labeled number 4. Number 4, Wang Xiaolong's opponent was the winner from Class 4, a student called Yang Mingwei. Yang Mingwei was 17 years old and entered the academy 8 years earlier than Wang Xiaolong. During those 8 years, he already reached late 6th order. Late 6th order. Lai Lu's face turned a little white when she saw that Xiaolong actually drew the stick with the number 4. "Xiaolong, why don't you feeling worried?" Lai Lu doesn't know what to say. "It's all right." Wang Xiaolong smiled at Lai Lu. He knew what Lai Lu wanted to say, but couldn't articulate. Walking up the stage, Wang Xiaolong and Yang Mingwei came up to each other, face to face. Yang Mingwei had very fair skin and facial features which were considered handsome. Staring at Wang Xiaolong, he laughed and said, "Wang Xiaolong, is it? I didn't expect my first opponent would be you. I heard yesterday you defeated Yang Tang, who broke through Fifth Order and almost injured him to the point of being crippled. However, the current you is still not my opponent. It's better if you give up voluntarily. Is it? Huang Xiaolong was unaffected by the words. He could tell this Yang Mingwei did not have the intention to mock him. He said those words out of kindness to persuade him to throw in the towel. Make your move. Huang Xiaolong looked at the opponent and finally spoke. Yang Mingwei was stunned for a second at Huang Xiaolong's words and shook his head. Since your heart doesn't want to give up, then you'd better be careful. A bright, dazzling light broke out from his entire body after he was done talking. With a flash, Yang Mingwei was already standing in front of Huang Xiaolong, and his fist punched directly at Huang Xiaolong's chest. Seeing this, Huang Xiaolong lifted his hands and stuck out a Luohan fist move. Hong! Sounded as Yang Mingwei shook and retreated a few steps back before managing to steady himself. The crowd was sent into a daze. You a Sixth Order? How is this possible? Yang Mingwei found it hard to accept as he looked at Huang Xiaolong. Shaking the right arm that had just clashed with Huang Xiaolong's fist, it was still trembling and becoming numb. After everyone recovered, they sucked in a breath of cold air, and a frenzy swept through the crowd. This Huang Xiaolong, he actually already reached the Sixth Order. How old is he? Even Yang Mingwei was pushed back. What a monster, this is too terrifying. Even on the main platform, King Lu Ji, Principal Sun Zhang, Vice Principal Shen Chu, and the others' eyes almost protruded out. Unbelievable, especially Sun Zhang and Shen Chu were shocked agape, looking extremely dramatic and funny. Yesterday in the front square, it already shocked Sun Zhang and Shen Chu greatly when Huang Xiaolong defeated Jiang Teng before their eyes. They thought Huang Xiaolong was probably a late Fifth Order warrior, or at most a peak late Fifth Order, but now, even a Sixth Order warrior, Yang Mingwei, was pushed back by Huang Xiaolong. What kind of thing was this? After the feelings of shock passed, Sun Zhang and Shen Chu's body trembled with excitement. In their hearts, they had to tamp down their impulse to rush up towards Huang Xiaolong and embrace him. While everyone outside of the stage was in shock, Huang Xiaolong looked at Yang Mingwei, saying, "Use all your strength." Huang Xiaolong could tell Yang Mingwei held back on the first attack. Otherwise, he couldn't have pushed back against Yang Mingwei that easily. Yang Mingwei stared at Huang Xiaolong. The earlier contempt disappeared completely and was replaced with a somber expression. The one attack just now knocked him awake, and Huang Xiaolong was qualified enough to be his opponent. Okay, I take back my words. Yang Mingwei said, "You are qualified to be my opponent. Huang Xiaolong, I will use all my strength and ability to battle you, and I also hope that you will do the same in this fight." Finishing his declaration, a brighter and more dazzling light burst out from his body compared to the first time. Behind him, the silhouette of a man emerged, a gigantic man wearing battle armor sitting in a lotus position. This was Yang Mingwei's martial spirit, a man. To be more exact, it was an ancient race. Yang Mingwei's martial spirit was a type of ancient race martial spirit, the immovable Bright King tribe. According to legend, in ancient times, the ancient god clan abandoned many of the other living races, and the immovable Bright King race was one of them. It was a race-type martial spirit, and in general, race-type martial spirits were considered as high-grade martial spirits. In fact, Yang Mingwei's immovable Bright King martial spirit was a top grade 10 martial spirit. But obviously the 14 class's first place student possesses a top grade 10 martial spirit. Without such a level of talent, taking first place was an impossible task. Summoning his martial spirit out, a golden ring appeared behind Yang Mingwei, and with a flash, a fist shot out at Huang Xiaolong. With the incoming attack, Huang Xiaolong's body blurred away and his fist punched out, meeting the other fist straight on. Battle K surged, causing the space to contort. Once again, Yang Mingwei was pushed back by Huang Xiaolong. Seeing this result, the crowd was shocked. The person who possessed the immovable Bright King martial spirit, after calling it out, has an unimaginable physical strength and defense, a level higher than another same order warrior. However, Huang Xiaolong still could push Yang Mingwei back. Does this mean Huang Xiaolong's physical body was stronger than Yang Mingwei? Also, even now, Huang Xiaolong has yet to call out his martial spirit. After his attack made Yang Mingwei retreat, Huang Xiaolong's body flashed again, appearing before Yang Mingwei, and a palm struck against his chest. Immovable Bright King Golden Ring. At the same time Huang Xiaolong's palm met Yang Mingwei's chest, a sharp edge flickered across Yang Mingwei's eyes as the golden ring behind him enveloped his entire body, rotating non-stop to create a defense circle. When Huang Xiaolong hit the golden circle, it felt like his palm hit on an iron wall. "You won't be able to penetrate my defense circle." Yang Mingwei looked at Huang Xiaolong and said, "Only the 7th order and above can break open my golden ring." Immovable Bright King Golden Ring. This was the ability of Yang Mingwei's martial spirit after evolving from breaking through the 4th order. Casting the immovable Bright King Golden Ring, only an enemy of the 7th order or higher can break his defense. Can't penetrate your defense? Huang Xiaolong was indifferent as usual. Not necessarily. Then the palm on Yang Mingwei's chest suddenly pressed down, and a seemingly gentle energy seeped into the golden ring and into Yang Mingwei's body. Eyes wide in shock, Yang Mingwei trembled and fumbled backward till the end of the stage before coming to a stop. Blood spilled down from the corner of his lips. The crowd was in an uproar seeing this scene. What kind of battle Kai is that to break through my immovable Bright King Golden Ring's defense?" Yang Mingwei questioned, finding it hard to believe such a thing happened. This was the scary point of the ethereal palm. Even across walls, the ethereal palm's attack could still reach the other side of the wall without a problem. Huang Xiaolong didn't bother to answer, and in a flash, he once again appeared in front of Yang Mingwei, and a second palm shot out. Shocked, Yang Mingwei was too late when he thought of dodging. The palm struck the target and Yang Mingwei fell out of the stage. Yang Mingwei lost. Eyes fell on Yang Mingwei, and the crowd was unable to react for a long time. Moments later, confusion swept all 4 directions of the stage. Yang Mingwei was defeated. Moreover, it looked like Huang Xiaolong won easily without exerting much effort. He didn't even call out his martial spirit. Chapter 70. Unwilling to throw in the towel without a fight. Yang Mingwei stood below the stage for a long time, not moving. Not even the commotion amongst the crowd could attract his attention as he stared blankly at the immovable Bright King Golden Ring on his body. The golden ring that he was extremely confident in was so useless before Huang Xiaolong. Until this moment he still couldn't accept this fact. Yang Mingwei's expression was like the dark, cloudy sky. This round, Huang Xiaolong wins. Yang Mingwei regained his senses when the presiding teacher announced the result. With a complicated face he looked at Huang Xiaolong and said, "I admit I lost this time. Next year's competition, however, I definitely will defeat you." "Next year?" Huang Xiaolong repeated the words nonchalantly and shook his head. Based on his cultivation speed, by the end of next year, he probably would have broken through to the 7th order. And at that point he would be advancing to the 2nd-year class. So, when next year's competition is held, if Yang Mingwei remained in the 1st-year class, he would have no opportunity to battle against Huang Xiaolong. Seeing Huang Xiaolong shake his head, Yang Mingwei misunderstood his meaning, thinking that Huang Xiaolong felt too much disdain to battle him again. "Huang Xiaolong, what do you mean?" Yang Mingwei was angered. Huang Xiaolong turned around and walked down from the stage. "We'll talk if you manage to enter the 2nd-year class next year." Yang Mingwei was stunned by the reply as he stared at Huang Xiaolong's back. "Advance to the 2nd-year class next year?" Huang Xiaolong's words meant. Both of Yang Mingwei's eyes widened in shock when he realized the meaning behind them. On the guest platform, King Luji was watching Huang Xiaolong and laughing lightly. He said to Marshal Hayashin, "Didn't expect Huang Xiaolong to reach this level of strength. Truly out of my expectations." "Yes, this one feels the same." Marshal Hayashin smiled and agreed amiably. He knew Sovereign had broken through to the 6th order, but the strength Huang Xiaolong had displayed earlier still surprised him. Initially, he had thought even if Sovereign manages to win, it would be after a difficult and intensive battle, but in reality, it was the opposite. Honestly, the ease which Huang Xiaolong defeated Yang Mingwei also startled Fei Hu a little. Not long after Huang Xiaolong defeated Yang Mingwei, the battle results from the other 7 stages with the 1st-year battles also came in. Since the next round had 7 students, an odd number, one of the students was exempted and directly eligible for the next round's competition. This spot, however, wasn't determined by drawing sticks but was decided by the vice principal, Chen Chu. And the one Chen Chu picked was Lu Kai. Lu Kai was widely recognized by the students and teachers as the Academy 1st year's #1 person, so there was no objection from the crowd about Chen Chu's decision. And like that, Lu Kai proceeded to the next round's competition smoothly. For next round opponent, Huang Xiaolong drew a #6 stick. #6 was 1st-year class 6's Hudong, and his strength was weaker compared to the previous Yang Mingwei, a peak mid-6th order. Thus, there was no suspense to the battle, and the same scene repeated itself. Huang Xiaolong defeated Hudong effortlessly. Standing below the stage, Lu Kai quietly watched Huang Xiaolong's and Hudong's battle, his face not showing any of his thoughts. The truth was he was calm on the surface, but in his heart, waves of shock hit him, just like everyone else present. At first, his thoughts were similar to his father's. Wang Xiaolong wouldn't have the opportunity to battle against him and would very likely be eliminated halfway through the process. In reality, not even Yang Mingwei is Wang Xiaolong's opponent. Deep in his heart, Lu Kai felt tangled. Between the many princes in the Luotong kingdom, without a doubt, he possessed the highest talent of all of them. Thus, he was most loved by his father. Despite that, the talent that he was so proud of crumbled to nothing when compared to Wang Xiaolong's. On the other hand, Zhang Yuan, who was standing behind Lu Kai, his facial expressions became twisted watching Wang Xiaolong defeat Yang Mingwei and Hudong like it was nothing. A short while later, the second round of the first year's competition had ended. Wang Xiaolong and 2 other students successfully entered into the third competition. Don't know whether it was done intentionally or not, but the stick Wang Xiaolong drew was number 3, a class 3 student called Chen Kang. Once again, Wang Xiaolong did not meet with Lu Kai. However, Chen Kang's strength was recognized by the collective first years, and he was the number 2 student after Lu Kai, a peak late, 6th order. Like Yang Mingwei, Chen Kang also possessed a top grade 10 beast-type martial spirit, the long-arm water ape. Although Chen Kang was much stronger than Yang Mingwei, he ended up losing to Wang Xiaolong like the previous opponents, without releasing his martial spirit even once. Seeing Chen Kang lose to Wang Xiaolong, the people around the stage were stupefied. In the end, it came down to the final round between Lu Kai and Wang Xiaolong battling for the first place spot amongst the first year. No one imagined that it would come to this. It would be Wang Xiaolong who would be competition for Lu Kai to grab the title. Prior to this day, the new and older students had talked about this, and everyone agreed at that time that it would be Chen Kang up on that stage against Lu Kai. But now it was the new student, Wang Xiaolong, standing there instead. 2 people stood on the stage, sizing each other up. Both were quiet and neither spoke. Below the stage, silhouettes tensed up as silence filled the place. Lai Lu fixed her stare on Wang Xiaolong and Lu Kai on the stage, and her small hands clenched nervously, a layer of thin sweat on her palm. "You surprised me." At long last, Lu Kai spoke and cut through the thick silence. "But you should realize, you cannot win over me. Just give up and throw in the towel." Hearing Lu Kai's words, Wang Xiaolong calmly retorted, "Just now, Yang Mingwei said the same thing to me." In the end, Yang Mingwei lost miserably. Lu Kai heard the hidden meaning of Wang Xiaolong's words and did not get angry. Instead, he smiled faintly, saying, however, "I'm not Yang Mingwei." And his battle cry broke out in full force, not holding back. An energy stronger than both Yang Mingwei's and Chen Kang's swept out from Lu Kai's body. 7th order. Prince Lu Kai really did break through to the 7th order. Based on Prince Lu Kai's strength, the first year competition's first place is already in his hands. How can Wang Xiaolong win against Prince Lu Kai in this situation? If it was me seeing Prince Lu Kai's 7th order strength, I would have already raised my hands in surrender. This Wang Xiaolong actually dares to stand on the stage, too overconfident. Stubborn persistence to save face. Below the stage, a flurry of discussions was taking place. Of course, those jealous of Wang Xiaolong couldn't resist ridiculing Wang Xiaolong, their voices full of sarcasm. Wang Xiaolong's expression remained the same as those ugly words entered his ears, looking at Lu Kai on the opposite side. 7th order. This was within Wang Xiaolong's expectations, so Lu Kai revealing his 7th order strength came as no surprise. "How is it? Do you still want to fight?" Lu Kai looked at Wang Xiaolong. "Make your move." Wang Xiaolong's calm voice sounded unhurried. Lu Kai didn't expect to get such an answer and was taken aback. Knowing that he was a 7th order, Wang Xiaolong still dared to fight him. He knew Wang Xiaolong was indeed strong, but he and everyone present can see that he's just a peak late 6th order. The 7th order was a dividing line. No matter how strong a 6th order warrior is, it's impossible for them to win against a 7th order. This was a well-established fact. Could this Wang Xiaolong want to use his 6th order strength to smash this fact? Lu Kai stared at Wang Xiaolong and nodded his head seconds later. "Since you're unwilling to give up, then I will personally make you." After he said that, Lu Kai released the martial spirit from his body. Well, that's it for this chapter. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you will tune in for the next chapter of this story. Now, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our next chapter as soon as it's posted, and I thank you once again.